Every spring, people spend money trying to erase some of the most useful plants growing right outside their door. They spray them, rip them out, call them weeds, and never once stop to ask a simple question: why do these plants keep coming back stronger than the lawn itself? Because the truth is, some of the most nutrient-dense foods on Earth are not found in a grocery store aisle. They're hiding in plain sight, in sidewalk cracks, garden beds, neglected corners of the yard, and along the fence line. These are the plants most people step over without a second thought. But for generations, foragers, farmers, and traditional healers knew better. They understood that survival food doesn't always look polished. Sometimes it looks stubborn, sometimes it looks wild, and sometimes it looks like the very thing you've been trying to kill. Today, we're counting down 10 superfoods disguised as weeds in the backyard. And stay with me for number 4, because it has been studied for its role in inflammation, seasonal allergies, and even prostate health. Then number 1, the plant almost everybody has pulled and cursed at least once, turns out to be one of the most nutritionally complete wild foods on the entire list. 10 plants. Zero cost. Let's get into it. Number 10, red clover. Most people see red clover and think of lucky lawns, fuzzy pink flowers, and a plant that doesn't belong anywhere near a perfect yard. But red clover is one of those quiet plants that has been feeding and supporting people for a long time without asking for attention. The flowers are edible, the leaves are edible, and the entire plant carries a surprising mix of nutrients that make it much more than a pretty weed. What makes red clover especially interesting is its concentration of isoflavones, plant compounds that have drawn serious scientific interest because they interact with estrogen receptors in the body. That is one reason red clover has been studied in relation to menopause symptoms, especially hot flashes and sleep quality. Several studies suggest that red clover extract may help some women with hormonal balance over time, not as a dramatic overnight fix, but as a slow, cumulative support plant. That's exactly how traditional herbal medicine has always tended to use it. But red clover is not just about hormones. The blossoms contain protein, minerals like calcium, magnesium, and potassium, and the leaves provide vitamin C and iron. Dried flowers can be brewed into tea, and the fresh blossoms can be eaten right where they grow. In some traditional food systems, red clover was not a supplement or a niche herbal remedy. It was simply part of the landscape, part of the meal, part of what the land offered when people paid attention. And that matters, because red clover reminds us of something most people forget. A plant does not need a farm to be valuable. It only needs to be understood. Number 9, chickweed. Chickweed is the kind of plant most people ignore because it looks too delicate to matter. It sprawls low to the ground, with tiny leaves and small white star-shaped flowers, usually appearing in cool weather when the soil is moist and the yard is full of other plants. But this soft little weed has a long history as both food and folk medicine, and modern analysis has only made it more interesting. As a food, chickweed is mild, tender, and easy to eat raw or lightly cooked. People often describe it as one of the gentlest wild greens, which is exactly why it became so useful in traditional diets. It is a source of vitamin C, vitamin A, and minerals like calcium and iron, making it especially useful in seasons when fresh vegetables were scarce. The real surprise is how often chickweed appears in traditional remedies for irritated skin. Herbalists used it for itching, minor burns, rashes, and inflamed skin conditions. Modern phytochemical studies point to saponins and other compounds that may help explain that cooling, soothing effect. In other words, the old observation wasn't random. People noticed that chickweed seemed to calm things down, and science is still catching up to why. It grows fast, it covers bare soil, and it seems to appear exactly when the ground is cool and damp. That's not a coincidence. Chickweed is a plant that thrives where tender greens are needed most, and somehow it keeps showing up with answers before anyone even asks the question. If you have learned something new from this video already and you are interested in this type of knowledge, please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already and ring the notification bell as we share new videos every week. Also like the video and share the video so that others can also benefit from this video, and share your thoughts with us in the comment section. Number 8, common mallow. Common mallow is one of those weeds people often see but never really see. It grows low near driveways, garden edges, and disturbed soil, with round leaves and small pink or purple flowers that look almost too elegant for something so frequently dismissed. Yet this plant has a surprisingly deep history as a food source. The leaves are edible, the flowers are edible, and the plant contains mucilage, a gel-like substance that gives mallow its soothing texture when cooked or steeped. That mucilage is one of the reasons the plant has been valued in traditional medicine for centuries, especially for calming irritation in the throat, stomach, and digestive tract. Modern herbal research has taken a closer look at plants like mallow because that slippery quality is not just folklore. It can help coat tissues and create a soothing effect. Nutritionally, mallow offers vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, and magnesium, along with antioxidants that help explain why it has remained a respected wild green in many cultures. In parts of the Mediterranean and Middle East, mallow has been cooked as a vegetable for generations. It is not a novelty, it is not an experiment. It is a survival food that never lost its value. And if you've ever looked at a weed and assumed it was weak because it was small, mallow is the reminder that softness and strength are not opposites. Sometimes the plant that looks most fragile is the one that has been helping people the longest. Number 7. Wood sorrel. Wood sorrel is the plant that surprises people the fastest because it tastes like it should not be growing in a backyard at all. The leaves are small, often heart-shaped, and they form clusters that can be mistaken for clover at a glance. But the flavor gives it away immediately. One bite and you get that bright lemony sharpness that wakes up the mouth. That tartness comes from organic acids, especially oxalic and malic acid, and the plant also contains vitamin C and other antioxidant compounds. For foragers, wood sorrel has long been one of the easiest wild snacks to recognize because it grows low, thrives in shade or partial sun, and often appears in the very places where the soil is a little neglected but still alive. Traditional use of wood sorrel stretches across continents. It has been eaten fresh, brewed as a cooling tea, and used as a thirst-quenching plant when fresh fruit or citrus was unavailable. During long journeys and lean seasons, people valued anything that could bring both refreshment and nutrition, and wood sorrel did exactly that. Of course, like several plants on this list, it should be eaten in moderation, especially for people who need to avoid high oxalate foods. But that caution doesn't erase the bigger story. This is a wild backyard plant with a bold flavor, a measurable nutrient profile, and a long history of helping people through times when nothing else fresh was available. Number 6, plantain, not the banana. The small, ribbed, low-growing weed that seems to survive every footstep, every mower blade, and every patch of compacted soil you thought could support nothing. Common plantain is one of the most underestimated plants in the world because it looks so plain. But plain does not mean useless. Plantain leaves have a long history as a first aid plant. Crushed fresh and applied to minor stings, bites, and skin irritation, they were used for the same reason people use herbal salves today. They seem to calm things down quickly. The leaves contain compounds such as aucubin and other plant chemicals that researchers have studied for anti-inflammatory and antimicrobial activity. As food, the young leaves can be cooked like greens and used in soups or sautés. They are not flashy, but they are dependable, and dependability is one of the most valuable traits a plant can have. Plantain also contains fiber, vitamins, and minerals, making it both a practical wild food and a traditional medicine plant. What makes plantain especially impressive is where it grows. It does not wait for ideal conditions. It loves disturbance. It loves compaction. It loves places where other plants struggle. That means the more careless we are with the land, the more plantain seems to remind us that resilience is its own form of abundance. Number 5, garlic mustard. Garlic mustard is a plant with a reputation problem. It is invasive, aggressive, and notorious for taking over shaded areas and forest edges. Conservation groups spend time and money trying to control it. But in the kitchen, that same aggressive growth becomes a strange advantage, because garlic mustard is one of the most useful wild greens you can harvest. Young leaves have a sharp, garlicky bite with a mustard-like edge, and that flavor comes from the plant's sulfur-containing compounds, the same broad chemical family that makes other cruciferous vegetables so valuable in nutrition research. Scientists have studied this group of compounds for their potential role in supporting cellular defenses and healthy inflammatory response. Garlic mustard also contains vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, and other nutrients that make it far more than a nuisance. In some traditional kitchens, the leaves were used much like mustard greens or cooked down into savory dishes. The seeds can also be used as a seasoning. The key is timing. Young leaves are best before the plant gets tough and bitter. This is one of those rare cases where eating the weed is not just practical, it's ecological. Harvesting garlic mustard can help slow its spread, which means dinner and damage control can happen at the same time. That's a rare kind of efficiency, and the plant itself almost seems built to be misunderstood until somebody finally tastes it. We are midway through this video, and if you are still here, then take 3 seconds to like, share, comment, and subscribe if you have not done so. Let's continue. Number 4. Stinging nettle. Nettle is the plant that tells you not to touch it before you ever get close enough to listen. One brush of the skin, and the sting makes itself known immediately. Tiny hollow hairs along the leaves and stems inject irritating compounds that create that unmistakable burning sensation. Which is exactly why most people assume it's useless. They could not be more wrong. Once cooked, dried, or properly prepared, nettle becomes one of the most nutrient-dense leafy greens available anywhere. It is rich in iron, calcium, magnesium, potassium, vitamin A, vitamin C, and vitamin K. It also provides protein at levels that are unusually high for a leafy plant. In some analyses, nettle leaves have stood out for their impressive mineral content and broad nutritional profile, which is one reason they have remained part of traditional food systems in Europe, Asia, and beyond. The science around nettle is especially fascinating because it spans multiple areas. Researchers have studied nettle leaf for seasonal allergy support, and some findings suggest it may help reduce inflammatory responses involved in hay fever. Nettle root, meanwhile, has been studied for benign prostatic hyperplasia, with trials showing improvements in urinary symptoms for some men. That is not a small claim. It is a serious area of interest in herbal medicine research. And there's a deeper reason nettle keeps coming back in human history. It grows where the ground is rich, moist, and full of life. In other words, nettle is often a sign that the soil beneath it is fertile enough to support abundance. The sting is just the price of admission. Number 3. Lamb's quarters. If spinach had a wild cousin that lived harder, grew faster, and often outperformed it nutritionally, that cousin would be lamb's quarters. Most people who pull it from a garden don't realize they are removing one of the best wild greens available. The leaves are soft, mildly earthy, and easy to cook into almost anything. The young tops can be eaten raw, but the real magic happens when the plant is lightly steamed or sautéed. What makes lamb's quarters so impressive is its nutrient density. It contains substantial amounts of vitamin A, vitamin C, calcium, iron, and protein. In many comparisons, it holds its own against cultivated greens like spinach and kale, sometimes even surpassing them in certain minerals. That is remarkable for a plant that grows on its own in disturbed soil with no fertilizer, no irrigation, and no encouragement. The seeds are edible too, and they belong to the same broader family as quinoa, which explains why ancient and traditional food systems valued them as more than just a leafy side dish. Archaeological and ethnobotanical records suggest that humans have been eating lamb's quarters for a very long time, often as a dependable spring and summer green, when other crops were not yet ready. This plant is a reminder that nature does not always separate wild and useful the way modern life does. Sometimes the most productive food is the one that never asked to be planted in the first place. Number 2, purslane. Purslane is the juicy little weed that changes the conversation as soon as people learn what it contains. Thick, reddish stems, small succulent leaves. A habit of spreading across hot, dry soil like it owns the place. Most gardeners hate that kind of confidence. Nutrition scientists, on the other hand, pay attention. Why? Because purslane is one of the richest plant sources of omega-3 fatty acids on the planet. That alone puts it in a category that very few leafy greens can touch. Omega-3s are associated with cardiovascular health, inflammation regulation, and brain function. And purslane gives you a plant-based form that makes it uniquely valuable, especially for people who want more of these fats without relying on fish. But that's not all. Purslane is also rich in vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, magnesium, potassium, and antioxidants like glutathione. It has a crisp, slightly lemony flavor, and a texture that works beautifully in salads, soups, stir-fries, and even pickled dishes. Around the Mediterranean, and in parts of the Middle East, purslane has long been eaten as a common vegetable, not some rare wellness trend. Modern research has also looked at purslane for blood sugar support and anti-inflammatory potential, adding another layer to its reputation. It thrives in heat, survives poor soil, and keeps producing while other plants wilt. In a world that values resilience, purslane is not just a weed, it is a blueprint. Number 1. Dandelion. The world has declared war on dandelion and still lost. No backyard plant has been more thoroughly sprayed, pulled, cursed, and dismissed. Entire lawn industries are built around getting rid of it, and yet dandelion continues to come back with the kind of stubbornness that usually only belongs to legends. The reason is simple. Dandelion is not a mistake. It is a masterpiece of survival, and nutritionally, it is extraordinary. Dandelion greens are rich in vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin K, and several important minerals, especially calcium and potassium. The leaves are bitter, yes, but that bitterness is part of the point. Bitter greens have long been valued in traditional food systems because they stimulate digestion and support the natural release of digestive fluids. Modern research has also explored dandelion for its effects on bile flow and liver support, especially through the root, which contains inulin, a prebiotic fiber that feeds beneficial gut bacteria. That prebiotic angle is one of the reasons dandelion deserves so much respect. Inulin has been studied for its role in supporting the microbiome, and the dandelion root is one of the best-known natural sources of it. So the plant people try hardest to kill is also quietly feeding the bacteria that help keep the gut ecosystem in balance. And then there are the flowers. Dandelion flowers contain carotenoids and antioxidants, and people have used them for tea, syrups, wines, and food for generations. The whole plant is useful. The leaves, the roots, the flowers. Nothing about it is wasted. That is what makes dandelion such a perfect final answer. It grows where it is not wanted. It survives what should eliminate it. It feeds insects, feeds soil, feeds people, and keeps returning after every attack. If a plant this useful can be reduced to a weed, then maybe the problem was never the plant. Maybe the problem was that we stopped recognizing value when it didn't come wrapped in plastic. Every plant on this list grows without asking permission. They push through cracks, thrive in neglect, and survive conditions that would wipe out many cultivated crops. For generations, people ate them, brewed them, applied them, and relied on them when nothing else was available. These weren't random weeds. They were part of a living relationship between people and the land. And modern science is only now catching up to what older cultures already knew through experience. Some of the best food and medicine on earth is hiding in plain sight. So the next time you're out in the yard and you see something growing where it doesn't belong, don't be so quick to judge it. The plant you're about to pull might be one of the most useful things within walking distance. Thank you for watching, and I would see you in the next video.